Boom. Hey, this is my regular class Monday, November 30th, and it's going to work for Tuesday, December 1st, because it is time for wintry bits. Those of you who turn in late work, make sure you email me, because if you don't email me, I don't know to go grade it. And I know I have kids turning in work and submitting work and then not telling me to look for it, and it just sits there as a 0. I don't want you guys to do work and not get credit for it. This isn't math class. Deliver the 3rd round of novels. That's right. Threw shade at math teachers. And then from there, Shadow Club, blah, blah. Good to go. Let's go clicky, clicky, clicky. Again, for like my 5 kids who have still not turned in the idiom homework, you can go back and see the directions on there. There's also the video you can watch. I'll explain things. This will be on the quiz this week, by the way, since we've not actually, last time we had the idioms, we had a quiz, but a lot of kids did not do well on the idiom part. So I'm putting idiom questions on this quiz also. So if you have your handout, you get to keep using it to hopefully make your life better. Shadow Club, you're going to want book thing, or you can use ebook version, and we'll talk about that here in a moment too. And then here's information for you. On Canvas, if you go to the main page on Canvas, on there, 2 things for you. There is now a new link that is called Shadow Club Page, which is going to be like on the different days. And I'm going to show you what happens if you click that. The other one is we have a quiz coming up on Thursday and Friday, which covers our book up through page 67. I will be able to get through most of that with you, but there is every chance you might have to read some of the book on your own. We might not get all the way to page 67 by the time of the quiz. So you may have to do some reading with your own brain. To help you with that, if you go to the Shadow Club page on Canvas, there are audiobook files on there. And now you can just listen to the audiobook files and not have to use your own brain to listen to it. It has the whole thing on there. Dude, well, go him. And you can listen to that. It has the ebook on there. It has the audiobook files. And so you're more than welcome to use that page to make things a little bit easier on you. So that was my goal, to try and help you guys out. Then we did this with you guys last week. Let's see, I've enjoyed getting revenge on some of the past. We've already gotten in the book where we find out like they hate Rebecca because she's the girl that sings really well. We want to get revenge on her. Any kid that gets detention with the principal is a bad kid. The story opened with the main character, Jared, telling you that he does all these horrible things. As we're going to figure out how do you define what makes a person bad. I would intervene if I saw my bully getting beat up. We're not going to get to that yet. I think that's going to come later on, probably maybe Thursday, Friday, maybe not till next week. Loudly announcing to the whole class that someone has ugly clothes. We are going to get to our scene that is similar to that, but it's not going to be until Thursday, Friday. And then 5, I report my BFF or do something. That's not going to be for 2 more weeks. That's not till the end of the book where we find out what the bad thing is, and then he has to make that decision. So we have a while on there. All right. And now that we've gotten into it, again, make sure you are doing the connection-y things between art and then hang on, come here, let that kid in, stop being mean to him. There we go. Between your life and the book, I will give you my connections as we go through. Again, my goal is to hopefully let you guys into class early, but that means 5 of you are going to have to make connections between the book and your life in some way. 5 different people are going to have to make 5 different connections. If you do, then we will end class early. If not, then I will assume that is your way of letting me know that you like my melodic voice and you want me to keep reading, and I will happily do that. Blaze, you want to yell at me already?
Wait, since I accidentally have 2 books, if I turn them both in, will I get 10 B points?
You would, but I'd have to charge you the points for stealing the 2nd book, so it probably would not work out very well for you.
But you said you blamed yourself.
I do blame myself until you try to get finagly and try to give Ethan an idea of that 2nd book, and then it becomes more of an issue. I blame myself. That doesn't mean I forgive you for having it. It's gracious children nowadays. All right, let's see. Let's do a chat challenge. Let's go to. All right, hang on.
Mr. Broviak?
Yes?
What page are we on?
I haven't told you yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Chat. All right. I will tell you what page we're on. We just haven't gotten to that part yet. We go back through. Let's see. We go to here first. Story opens with, we just talked about it. There we go. The weird wedding gazebo thing. So here's my opening question for you. It is 2 parts. Wait until a chat challenge pops up on the screen before you submit. All right, here's your first question. We have 2 main characters in the book so far. Who are the 2 main characters that are going to be in the novel? One is the speaker that is talking to us. The other one is the speaker's best friend. They're really the 2 main. We've had 4 people introduced, but only 2 of them are the main ones. And yes, Wyatt, you may. All right, so here's the chat challenge. Can you figure out the names of the 2 characters? And chat challenge. Ooh, oh wait, we do have. And it looks like, and PJ is my first one coming in. Correct answer should have been Jared and Cheryl, and PJ with the win.
PJ spelled Jared wrong.
I know, I'm well aware, I saw that. I see you trying to attack him, Blaze, just because you came in 2nd place. I'm still gonna give it to PJ because this is school and no one cares about spelling. I know that because my students tell me that every day.
I like
Jared, Cheryl. I mean, Max went even farther on his misspelling of it. I mean, but that's all right. We're not throwing shade at people. Don't worry, I'll give you another chat challenge then. All right, let's see. So we have that chat. Hang on. So give me, let's see, chat challenge. I don't want to make Blaze unhappy. So the wedding thing, it opens up. They're doing the thing. Good job, PJ. I like your dancing. And then we're going to get to, this one. All right. Here's your next chat challenge then. Okay. So they talk about Shirley Temple in the book, and they connect one of the characters to Shirley Temple. So my question is going to be, which character are they connecting to Shirley Temple in the book? All right, that's going to be your chat challenge. When they make that connection, which character are they connecting? And chat challenge, and ooh, it's flying up. It looks like Finley was my first one with Rebecca, and then, I think Antoinette was second. Antoinette was second, and Casopa third. And Delaney, I like your random name. That was a nice, bold move. Respect on that one. But Finley with the official win on that one. Who apparently, Finley, and maybe Delaney, I think. Do I get to see you guys after school today at the basketball tryouts? I'm assuming you guys are going. And Antoinette. Antoinette, I get to see you in real person. What a happy day. Yep, because I'll be there for the 8th grade tryouts. I'm sure I'll see you guys there for the 7th grade ones too. So I just realized that. Oh, we could have basketball players in here, people for me to harass. What a happy day. All right, so it gives me Shirley Temple. Then that was as far as we got. Then, all right, we'll do more chat challenge coming up. Let's go to there. And we stopped on page 15, which is chapter 2, where it says Austin Pace. All right. And I'm going to start reading from there. So we're on page 15. It should say Austin Pace. If you are doing ebook, I think you can just jump to the beginning of chapter 2. On ebooks, you're going to be able to do like it's where you can do a search. And a lot of times I will give you a word to search for. And you can usually type that in because on the ebook, it's hard to get to the exact spot since your pages don't match my pages. All right. Chapter 2, Austin Pace. In our town, high school doesn't start in 9th grade. 100 years ago, some founding father decided that 7th through 9th grades belonged in junior high school, and no one's bothered to change it ever since. It was the first day of the last year of junior high, and Austin was already at it. He was even early that morning, jogging around the track. Oh, excuse me, sorry, hang on. Excuse me. I'm back, pay no attention to that. Oh, by the way, so that's going to play an important role in the story. The fact that this junior high is not like our junior high, which is just 7th and 8th. This junior high is 7th, 8th, and 9th. So it is 3 grades. So 9th grade goes to the same school as 7th graders, all in the same building. That'll play a role coming up. Coach Schuler hadn't even come in yet. And there was Austin in last year's gym shorts, running in circles for the whole world to see. Now, I'm certain he was doing it for that reason. So the whole school could walk by and say, wow, Austin's really dedicated, isn't he? Well, I was dedicated too. I just didn't flaunt it in public. Austin's good at a large number of things. good enough for people to notice, but not enough to be labeled a brain or a jock or a nerd or anything. In short, he's what every kid wants to be, or at least what I always wanted to be. He is, in his own way, perfection on 2 feet. And I'm assuming all of you just highlighted that last line and then wrote my name down next to it. I understand. It's okay. I've gotten used to it by now. And he knows it. I hated him. He did not know that. To him, I was just one of his many friends. If he'd been a year or two older than me, he might have been someone I looked up to. Can you believe that? He loves it when younger kids look up to him. But I'm not younger, though. I'm 3 months older than him. And he never really treated me like a friend or even like an equal. He kind of treated me like a worm, or at least tried to make me feel like one. I used to think it was because I was the one who started up that now infamous nickname that still plagued his existence, Lost in Space. That part I did highlight because I tend to give kids nicknames. So the idea of nickname giving, I did write myself down next to it. Lost in Space. That name stuck to him like Velcro, and he could never peel it off. I mean, yeah, I used to think that was why he treated me like he did, but that wasn't it. It ran deeper and stronger than that. You see, unlike everyone else, I was the only one who came close to being a threat to him. Like I said, Austin's good at everything, but there's only one thing that he was out and out great at. He could run. As a kid, everyone knew he was fast. He beat everyone he ever challenged, even kids older than him. It's like for as long as I can remember. And for as long as I can remember, I was second fastest, always the second best runner. It wouldn't have been so bad being second best, but you see, it's what I did best out of everything. Just like Cheryl and her singing. I wasn't outstanding in any of my classes, and I wasn't the most popular guy in school. Whatever it was, I was always somewhere in the middle. I was the guy you would never notice. They used to call me the generic kid when I was 10 because at day camp, none of the counselors could remember my name. I just didn't stand out. But I could run, and when you're a fast runner, there's nothing like that feeling as you pick up speed. Actually feel your body accelerate, and you realize that the wind isn't a wind at all. It's just you cutting through the still air like a bullet. There's nothing like that feeling when you know that this is what you do well and nobody can take it away. That part I did highlight, and I connected that to my cross-country runners because we talk about that when we go running sometimes. Nobody but Lost in Space, and he took it away real good. Not so much by beating me, but by purposely making me feel like I wasn't worth a thing. He knew exactly what to say to squash me beneath his big toe. Things like, maybe it's your running shoes that make you slow. Or maybe next year your legs will grow longer and you'll have a fighting chance. Or maybe he would just look at me with that silent gloat in his smile after beating me in yet another race. I don't know why, but it seemed that Coach Schuler always put us in the same races. We would take first and second. But when Austin and I were racing, there were no places, only winner and loser. And I was always, without exception, the loser. Once I was the best. That one year when Austin's father, who is a professor, took the whole family traipsing around South America for a whole year. It was in seventh grade, first year on the junior high school team. I finally got to see that finish line ribbon, to feel it pull across my chest as I crossed the line. I was hot then, the hero, popular, everything I could have wanted. Well, he's trying to make him sound really evil. So yeah, according to Jared, Austin is pure evil. But don't worry, you'll get a chance to make your own opinion of him in just a moment. Then Austin came back like I knew he would. I remember the beginning of 8th grade, before the coach knew him. We were lined up for time trials, and just before Austin was to go, he turned to me and gave me that smile, the smile that said, "You're nothing, Jared Mercer, and I'll prove it." The coach yelled, go. And Austin took off and blew my 60-yard time sky high. He beat it by almost half a second. All right, that might not seem like much, but races are lost by hundreds of seconds. Hang on, let me let a lost kid back in. Come here, lost kid. From that moment on, I was a backseater again, the generic kid, living in the bigger than life shadow of lost in space. But this time, it was worse because I had tasted what it was like to be a winner, and Austin was determined to make sure I would never taste it again. Ah, come on, you take these things too seriously, my father would say. So he's faster than you. Big deal. I'll bet there are things you do better than he does. But there weren't. And my father just didn't understand. It wasn't just that he was faster than me. It was that I was second. And nobody on this earth could care less about runners up. On that first morning of ninth grade, I watched Austin from the stands. He knew I was there. He had to know. I was the only one in the bleachers. He ran around and around the dirt track in his bright white running shoes that never seemed to get dirty. By the way, I highlighted that in my book and put Air Force Ones because kids who wear their brand new Air Force Ones are always like, don't you scuff my shoes? Which made me think about that as soon as I read that one. Not that I'm laughing at him. It looked like he was going to go until the first bell rang, but then he stopped, stepped inside the track, and went to the highest point of the oval, which is why I have that on the screen. The highest point, meaning like the big circle, he's going to run from like the top of the track all the way across the football field down to the other side of the track. Again, this will play a role later in the book. Stepped inside the track, went to the highest point of the oval. I knew what he was going to do. He did it all the time. His school bag sat there at the tip of the oval track. He took his blue digital chronometer, the one the coach gave him after last year's final meet, and set it to 0. Then he took his running shoes and socks off, stared at an invisible spot in front of him, straight across the middle of the field to the other tip of the oval. He took his starting position, clicked the chronometer, and took off in his bare feet. It hurt to watch his speed. He tore through the grass like a racehorse on turf and was at the other end of the oval much too soon. He looked at the time his chronometer had logged, and he pretended to notice me for the first time. He waved, I waved back, and he stretched out his legs, went to get his shoes, and then came by the bleachers. Hang on, I have another chat challenge for you real quick. So hang on, let's do chat challenge. Here's my chat challenge question for you. They just talked about him using a chronometer, because that's what he was using as he was running across to make a reference to it. A chronometer is a fancy term for something you should know. What is the more common name for a chronometer, which is their fancy term? All right, and click. Challenge. I like your time. Ooh, I'm gonna give it to 2 people on this one. Technically, it was my first one. Oh, stop it, scrolly bits. I think Antoinette was my first one. Time is speed, makes me smile. Antoinette, timer. I'm going to give you that one, timer. But technically, I was going more for stopwatch, which is what Max put down. And Max,
I was first. On my screen, I'm first.
Everyone's first on their screen. You have no lag on your own device. It's on mine. It goes Antoinette, Lathe, Max, Casopa. So that's why. So on mine, you're not. If it helps, sometimes if you try pouting, it helps the sadness come out. Just thought we'd throw that out. And so yes, the other stopwatch. Stop it. There we go. Back there. I know I have another one coming up in a moment for those of you who did not win all the way, but Max, technically you've logged a win, so you can't win again. You only get a chance to flex on people because you did put stopwatch, which was the other answer. What's up, Jerry? He said. Hey, did you have a good summer? That's pretty good. What about you? Great, he said. He put his foot up on the front bench and stretched his calf muscle. You like my running shoes? They're Aeropeds, best running shoe made. Cost almost $200. I nodded. Maybe if you had these shoes, said Lawson, you might be able to come close to giving me some competition this year, huh? Maybe, I said, which wasn't what I wanted to say. I won't tell you what I wanted to say. You been working out? Yeah, I said. I had been. Every spare moment I had. That's good, man. Me too. Every day, all summer for junior national running camp. Hey, guess what? What? I might qualify for the junior NCAA championships. Really? Uh-huh, yeah. Tough competition. But my time now is averaging a quarter of a second faster than last year's 60-yard qualifying time. So I've been trying to get it even lower. My dad says if I qualify, then next year he'll find me a private coach and train me for the Olympics. He smiled that I'm better than you smile at me. So, what have you been up to? Me? Oh, I went to European runners training camp where you run cross country up and down the Alps all day long with famous Olympic athletes. Really? I sighed. No, actually, I just hung around and worked at Burger King making hamburgers. It's hard work, that Burger King. Builds muscles in your fingers. That's pretty kind of cool, isn't it? I'll bet, said Austin. You know, I was the youngest one they ever had working at that Burger King. Yeah, well, that makes sense, said Austin. I mean, who else are they going to get to that stupid flunky work but a kid, right? I didn't say anything after that. Well, I got to go change, said Austin. Are you coming to the first track meeting this afternoon? Yeah, of course. Well, get there on time, he said, smiling that crocodile smile at me. They're picking team captain today. I wouldn't want you to miss that. He turned and ran toward the locker room. All right, a quick pause. They're going to mention this again later. Crocodile smile. It is an idiom that I'm guessing many of you guys don't know if you find out that someone has a crocodile smile. If you've never seen a crocodile up close, nope, there's my start. There's my chronometer, my stopwatchy thing. So that was what the chronometer was. I forgot I had a picture of it up there to help you guys out. So there's your chronometer. There's an alligator or a crocodile. If you look at a crocodile's mouth, it looks like they're smiling. If you look at the corners, like it looks like they're coming up. But the crocodile's not actually smiling at you. It's just getting ready to eat you. It's just the way its face looks. So a crocodile smile is when someone looks like they're smiling, but in their heart, they're really hating you or getting ready to eat you in some way. That is a crocodile smile. Those of you who are in my classroom, you should recognize a crocodile smile because I use it a lot in my room when you guys make choices. And I go, oh, did you not do homework and then try to talk to a kid while standing? Is that the choice you're going to make? Well, doesn't that just make one of us happy? Like, Mr. Broviak, you're smiling, but I feel cold inside. And I'm like, yeah, that's a crocodile smile. Probably means that you should not trust a person who is doing something like that. Austin is going to do that a lot. Maybe he's happy he's eating. Well, yes, I'm sure he is, but I don't think Austin is getting ready to eat him. That would be mildly creepy. I don't think that's quite the same kind of smile. But if that's what you want to imagine, yes, he is a cannibal who's going to eat a child. Speaking of cannibals, we're going to get to a new character who has issues. Team captain today, already that smoldering feeling was growing. Man, Austin had done it again. All right, in 5 minutes, he had put me beneath his $200 running shoes and flattened me like a cigarette butt. You ain't got a chance against him, said a voice a few feet away from me. Standing there, right next to the bleachers, was Tyson McGaw, who, when it came to being weird, was head and shoulders above the rest. Tyson had stringy, greasy hair, a dirty face, and his left nostril was larger than his right because he spent so much time with his finger in it. All right, nobody much liked Tyson, and he was definitely not the person I cared to talk to right now, not after being humiliated by Lost in Space. Ooh, hang on, quick chat challenge. I just thought of this. Hang on, let's do this. Reference to poetry. Back in the Balloon Man poem, The Unjust, there was a word I taught you, which meant weird, strange, and unusual. It was a word they used in that poem. So my question is, what was the word that I taught you that nowadays has a different meaning. I haven't put chat challenge. Oh, look at those kids. They got so excited. I know. The shame. The shame. You were so excited that you knew the answer. And so here you go. Chat challenge. And let's go on. The slightly more responsible kids who did not do shame hands. It made me so smiling. I mean, I'm sorry that you guys had the shame hands, but watching the faces drop down, it did bring me a certain level of happiness that it shouldn't, but I'm a horrible person. Ooh, is that Blaze? Blaze with the win on that one, who popped up first. And then second is Delaney. And then third was Lathe. You keep getting top 3, Lathe. All right.
Oh yeah, wasn't he one of the first
He
ones?
said it before. He said
He said it beforehand.
He typed before.
Yeah, he typed
online. Did he?
Yeah.
No. Before, he only wrote the letter Q. And then
I didn't get
Max, Antoinette, and Ellie actually typed it. Q is not the right answer. So technically, I can give him credit. And then he typed it in afterwards. I appreciate it. I like how you guys stick strong to our chat challenge rules. I'm trying, but technically, he did not type the answer. He just put a Q in there. All right. So there. Well done, Blaze, with your win on that one. Back to you. All right. So queer would be a really good word to describe this kid. He's definitely strange, odd, and different. Why don't you mind your own business, Tyson? People don't like you spying on them. I wasn't spying.
Wait a minute. Can we highlight connections to other books?
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. By the way, we're for paper books, we're on page 22. For those of you who are trying to figure out where we are, page 22. If you're doing the ebook and you got lost, you're going to look for the word Tyson, Tyson. Mean and defensively, like he was looking to get into another one of his famous fights. Now, Tyson was an odd bird. Half the time, he seemed kind of nerdy and off in his own greasy little world. And the other half of the time, he was being nasty and picking fights like he was a tough. The last thing I wanted on the first morning of school was to fight Tyson. Not that I couldn't beat him up. I could. He was kind of weak and scrawny. It's just that he doesn't really fight like a human. He fights more like an animal, kicking and clawing and biting. Well, all right, spying or not, whatever you want to call it, don't do it anymore. At least not to me, because I don't like it. I got down from the bleachers and began to walk toward the school building. You really don't stand a chance, mumbled Tyson as I passed him. How would you know? I yelled into his face. Now I was mad. You're not on the team. You're not on any team. All you do is watch everybody else's business and stick your nose in it. Don't you have any business of your own? What goes on between Austin and me has nothing to do with you. You got that? Tyson, shut up. I don't think he expected me to get that mad. Just get out of my sight, Tyson. Don't talk to me unless you have something decent to say. I turned and walked toward class. Tyson mumbled something nasty beneath his breath, but I didn't want to push it any further. I ignored him and just continued walking. As I got into the building, my anger shifted away from Tyson and back to Austin. What burned me most was that Tyson was probably right. Conceited, arrogant, lost in space, had all the odds in his favor. And I hated Austin all the more for it. I began to imagine how nice it would be if there was a great conspiracy against all the lost in spaces in the world. Ooh, all right. I'll do another chat challenge for you real quick. There's a stopping point. Here's my next chat challenge. For those of you who are practicing not coming in too early. So that part we just read, where it says, it's nice to imagine a great conspiracy against all that's lost in spaces in the world. A conspiracy is like where a bunch of people plan something together, you know, like QAnon, and they're all their conspiracies about the people who are trying to overthrow the government or whatever QAnon yells about. And so here he says, wouldn't it be great if a bunch of people got together to try to overthrow the popular kids? Though that is a clue that something that's going to happen later in the book. My question is going to be, back during short stories, I told you the word for that. Clues in a story that are going to tell you what is going to happen later, because this is one of those examples of a clue in the story that is going to tell you what is going to be coming up and happening later. So my question is, what is that thing I'm referring to? All right, ready? Here comes chat challenge and chat challenge. And we do have answers. And Lathe not only makes top 3, but
How does
makes
Lathe do
top
that so
1.
fast?
Skills, apparently. And then Ethan was 2nd, Blaze was 3rd, Jeriel 4th. Lathe, you finally took the top spot. Nicely done. The correct answer being foreshadowing. By the way, it was also fun watching you guys punch yourselves in the head, because like 4 of you were like going, just like punching yourselves, trying to make like the thinking things happen. And I'm like, you're going to knock yourself out. I mean, not that I wouldn't find that entertaining, but just saying. Hang on, I need a drink of water. Now back to you. Now, sorry, I have to do a different voice, so I had to have some water so I didn't choke on it. Now, I want y'all to know right up front, this is no namby-pamby team, said Coach Schuler as he fidgeted with his whistle. Once you're in, I don't want y'all quitting and joining Little League or a soccer club or something like that. This might not be high school. We might not work out 5 days a week, but anyone who knows me can tell you that I expect hard work. Isn't that right, Jerry? Right, I said, surprised that he called me out of everyone else. So if you don't want to be here, leave now. In the back, 2 7th graders who in one day had already gotten a reputation of being obnoxious stood and went to the door laughing. As they left, one of them turned and said, "Adios, Commandant." Some 7th graders laughed. No one who knew Schuler laughed. By the way, I also marked that section where it says the obnoxious 7th graders, and I may or may not have written kids' names next to it. It's not important which names I may have written. Shots fired.
Tell me right now, who would you just write down?
Schuler looked at his clipboard. First of all, boys meet Mondays and Wednesdays. Girls meet Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anyone who wants to can practice with both teams. As Schuler spoke, my mind began to wander. I looked around the gym. It smelled new, but didn't look much different than the old gym. You would think that when a gym burns down, a school would build a nice new looking one, but nope. This gym was a carbon copy of the old one. In each corner of the gym, a different team was meeting, and more were meeting outside. It looked like about 40 kids were going out for track, a few more boys than girls. By next week, that number would be cut in half. The coach never cut anybody. People just lose interest and drop out. Lost in space sat about 10 feet away from me. He sat in the middle of a crew of 7th graders, already setting himself up to be the team hero for all the new kids to look up to. Schuler flipped to page. Oh, we are currently on page 25. Yep, at the top of 25 right now. Schuler flipped a page on his clipboard. All right, as you can see, we have a beautiful new gym. And because of last year's fires, the gym is completely off limits when a teacher isn't present. The doors will remain locked. That goes for the auditorium and just about every other unsupervised place. I know you've heard it from all of your other teachers. Now you're hearing it from me. Flip another page. We're going to find out that several parts of the school burned down last year. And that's going to be one of the running mysteries in here, is to figure out why the school burned down last year. Next, we have something new this year. Something I think you're going to like. A bunch of the local school districts are getting together to have a sort of a mini Olympics. And yes, there will be track events. There are various cheers from around the room, including my own. Yeah, that's the good news. Bad news is each district enters one team, which means that each school can only have one runner. No, not yet, but a good try. Various ahs from the group. I kept going. I'm sure Austin did too. I felt a knot begin to form in my stomach. Now, before we go down and assign you gym lockers, there's one more order of business. The captain, said Martin Bricker, an 8th grader who had a good chance of being captain next year, but was the only one who thought he would make it this year. Yeah, I was right, said Schuler. This is for old team members only. Now, here are pencils and slips of paper. Now, when I say so, I would like all the old team members to come up, fill out a ballot. All you have to do is put the name of the person you would like to be captain this year. Well, don't we get a campaign? Asked Lawson. No, we don't get the campaign, mimicked Schuler. Y'all know each other. You don't need any presidential debates. There'll be one captain for the boys and one captain for the girls. Boys vote for boys, girls, you vote for girls. If you're not sure what you are, you can ask me. I'll tell you. Someone lifted Sarah Dozier's hand and she elbowed him in the ribs. Okay, come on. Come on up. Here's the ballot box. Please put the pencils back in the can when you're done. I filled in Martin Bricker's name, figuring it was low class to vote for myself. And I certainly wasn't about to vote for Austin. As Austin approached the ballot box, he turned to me and smiled that crocodile smile that screamed, "You loser," from across the room. I smiled that, "Yeah, we'll see," smiled right back at him. When will you have the results? Asked Martin. They'll be posted on the main bulletin board tomorrow by lunch. Groaned. Oh, it's only one day. Now, when I call your name, come on up and I'll give you your locker number. They're going to jump to a scene with a treehouse. If you're an unfortunate soul who has never seen a treehouse before, I imagine it looks something like this. So it's not a super big treehouse. It's like a smallish treehouse. If you don't like that treehouse, use your own imagination. Just don't watch the show Treehouse Masters because those are humongous treehouses. That is not what they're doing here. That night, Cheryl and I sat in her old treehouse, talking and trying to get my mind off of the election. I never remembered the treehouse being so small. I bet it was even too small for Randall to sit in comfortably now. Sometimes I like growing, but at times like that, I didn't. I remember when I could lie down across the floor in the treehouse. It could fit all three of us, me, Cheryl, and Randall, each in our sleeping bags late at night, telling ghost stories and drinking chocolate shakes, which were still one of my favorite foods in the world. I love those days. Now, I couldn't even fit in it without bending my knees. It had almost been a year since I'd last been in it. Cheryl only lived down the street, but we never had much of a reason to go up into the treehouse anymore. It was Cheryl who had said, "Hey, let's go talk in the treehouse." And I'd said, "Fine," figuring it would cheer me up. Now, an hour later, the twilight was more twi than light, and the early September chill had come rolling in off the ocean. "What else?" said Cheryl. "Keep thinking." "I don't know. I can't think of any more." "Don't you have any imagination?" "No." "Yes, you do." "Okay. I know. Okay. I would hang him by his toes, upside down, over a bear trap." Cheryl laughed. "Now you're getting really gross." "Well, you asked for it. All right, your turn." Okay. "Well, next time she sings, I would throw roses at her like that guy did for her to put behind her ears, only I would make sure they had lots of thorns on them." I grimaced. "Your turn." All right. I would set Austin loose in Lion Country Wild Animal Park and see how fast he runs. Next. Ooh, okay, vicious. Let's see. I would fill her little lunchbox thermos with hydrochloric acid. Not fair. I said that one at the wedding. All right, then. All right. How about a king cobra in her lunchbox? No, wait. Okay. I've got one for you. Why don't we get her a nice date with Tyson McGaw? Oh, that's a face worse than death. We both laughed good and hard, just trying to imagine Rebecca and slimy Tyson McGaw together. What a match. I can't believe we're really this nasty. I don't know, but isn't it fun? I guess it was. It was sort of like watching those horror movies. Sure, they're sick and gross and bloody and all that, but everyone still loves them, right? I mean, it's not like we're really doing anything to them. We're not really mean and terrible. It's just a game. Everybody has someone that really irks them. And there's nothing wrong with pretending, right? Again, I marked mine on that. Everybody has someone that really irks them. And I put math teachers out to the side. So I'm assuming that's for most of you what goes in on that spot. Mr. Broviak, it hurts because it's true. Wait a second. I just had a brainstorm. We'll pay a bozo to pretend to teach Austin to walk on hot coals. And when she finally goes for it, he'll burn off his feet. So much for running. You are awful, laughed Cheryl. Then she stopped laughing and thought for a moment. Without the sound of our voices, the night seemed very quiet. I don't think I heard as much as one cricket. Hey, wouldn't it be weird if any of those things actually happened to Austin or Rebecca? Like somebody up there was listening? I'll make sure I keep my eye out for bear traps, I said. She laughed. I could barely see her now in the shadows on the other side of the treehouse. Like I said, it was small. I could feel her Reeboks touching my Nikes. I wiggled my feet. She wiggled back, like we were playing footsie or something dumb like that. I looked over the edge railing. It was clear that night. No fog like the last few nights. Cheryl's house was the last on the street, and from there, you could just barely see the ocean between the trees a quarter mile away. It was my favorite time of day, when the faint blue glow against the horizon is just enough to make everything look black against it, just after the colors have faded from the sky. Back when we were kids, I always loved talking with Cheryl, and even with Randall, in the treehouse at this time of day. Ghost stories, or even just stupid talk. Now that we were older and busier, it seemed as though I never really got to talk to Cheryl alone when it was quiet like this. It was different from the old days, but I still liked it. I wiggled my feet again. She wiggled back. By the way, if you're not familiar, I'm pretty sure that's what people call flirting. When you do the footsie thing and you kick your little feet against this other person, they kick their little feet back against yours. Not positive, but I have a suspicion there. Maybe we shouldn't have done all that before, she said. What? Talk mean about Rebecca and Austin. It's like I feel guilty now. Now that we'd stopped, I began to feel it too. Well, it was your idea. Thanks. Now I feel worse. Sorry. And I gave her own speech back. It's only words. It's only like sticking your tongue out at them. That's all. Like you said, it's only pretend. We're not hurting anybody. Right. It gets out all our frustrations and stuff, so we don't go around being angry at them all day. Right. Somehow I still don't think I convinced her. I didn't convince myself either. I couldn't. Not when my mind was still filled with all those nasty, ridiculous things when we brought down upon lost in space. What bothered me was that, like Cheryl said, it was fun. I didn't like feeling that it was fun. I moved closer to Cheryl. Somehow I felt that moving closer to her would make that creepy feeling go away. Do you really hate Austin? Cheryl asked. I couldn't see her talking now. It was too dark. I could just barely make out her shape against the trees behind her. I don't know. Do you really hate Rebecca? Cheryl sighed and didn't answer for a long time. Then she said, it's not really hate. She's my cousin. I care about her. But sometimes I think she enjoys making me feel lousy. I know Austin does. Do you really hate Austin, Jared? I don't know, I said for a second time. I really didn't know. It's just gotten so confused. She thought for a good long time. Would you be happy if Austin Pace moved far away? Yeah. Would you be happy if he got hurt so bad he couldn't run fast? I don't think so. No, then I'd feel sorry for him. How about if he died? Cheryl, come on. Sorry, dumb question. She was silent for a long, long time. She was thinking about something, I could tell. Then she finally spoke, very quietly and slowly. I know what the real question is. The real question to find out whether or not you hate him. What? The question is, if there were a way for you to make it happen, would you wish that Austin Pace had never been born? The cold of the night hit me just then, but I don't think it was just the cold. It was something more, something inside, not out. And it was because I knew the answer to that question. And I didn't like that answer at all. Would you? Yeah. And then she whispered back, I know how that feels. The breeze played the dying leaves above us. The chill got stronger. Before, I just felt nasty. Now, I felt weird. Weird and uncomfortable with myself, with that question. Do I wish Lost in Space had never been born? Yeah, I wish that. As much as I hated myself for wishing that, deep down, like really deep down, I did feel that way. And I couldn't change it. Scary. Cheryl, I'm spooked out. Me too. It's getting cold. Maybe we should go in? Cheryl went first, and I followed her down. You really do feel that way too? I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about something nice. But we didn't talk about anything nice. We didn't talk much about anything at all. That good feeling we had when we first climbed in the treehouse was gone and wouldn't come back for the rest of the night. We went in, watched 10 minutes of TV with our brother, then I hopped on my bike and rode home. I tried to chase that eerie feeling away by burying my head in that first night's homework. It worked. By morning, the feeling was gone. I felt like my old self and went on as if what we had discovered about ourselves in that treehouse that night meant absolutely nothing at all. But ignoring that night was a mistake. Not the first one, not the last one. Maybe that feeling was meant to be a warning, a bright red alarm flashing in our eyes. If it was, we were both too stupid to notice it. All right. I'm going to read just a smidge further to get to this next little scene, and then we're going to do a video check and give you guys the option to end early if we have these 5 people who can give me the connections. Let me get through like these next 2 pages or 3 pages. All right. Chapter 3, The Fire and the Agony, page 34. People were milling around the phys ed bulletin board before classes. Ours wasn't the only team choosing captains that day, and everyone there waited impatiently for each coach to put up the results. I wasn't one of the kids waiting. I mean, sure, I wanted to be captain, but I didn't want to think about it. The more I thought about it, the more worried I would get, and I'd feel miserable until the results went up. It was better to think about anything else until then. I thought about my new teachers, my old friends, what I would have for lunch, anything but the track team and Austin Pace and his $1 million Aeropeds that never got dirty, cough, cough, Air Force Ones, and looked like they came from planet Krypton or someplace like that. I wandered around a bit before the homeroom bell rang, looking for people I hadn't seen the day before. People really do change in one summer. Charlie Garcias had grown like 6 inches since June, and half of everyone I knew seemed to have gotten rid of their braces. I talked to Ralphie Sherman, who said that he made a movie in Hollywood over the summer. Ralphie was always good for a laugh because he never uttered a word of truth in his entire life. Pretty soon, I forgot all about the track team, and I was in a good mood. Such a good mood, I even said hello to Tyson McGaw. He grunted back, and then 5 minutes later, got himself into a fight with some kid whose name I don't remember. Watching Tyson get into fights was a school tradition. Personally, I never got into a real fight with him. Like I said before, Tyson fought like an animal, and I wanted nothing to do with that. Just looking at him, you could tell that something wasn't quite right. His eyes were kind of far away, like he wasn't seeing you, and his stringy matted hair was just plain ugly. It seemed no amount of combing could help that. Tyson was definitely not a mother's dream. Mr. Green saw the fight and ran down the hall. Mr. Green was the vice principal, but doubled as the school guidance counselor, which must have been a tough job since so many kids go wacko during junior high. That last line I also underlined, and out to the side just put the truth. After Mr. Green had broken up the fight, which wasn't much of a fight, it was more like Tyson doing an impersonation of the Tasmanian devil. Everyone in the hall began to applaud and laugh at Tyson as he continued struggling with Green. I have to admit it. All right, I laughed a little too. Like I said, it was a school tradition. Real quick, if we're not aware, the Tasmanian devil that they refer to, because they're going to refer to that again later in the book, that he fights like the Tasmanian devil from Looney Tunes. He's the one that sort of spins around, rah, 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 and spins around in a circle like a tornado. The Tasmanian devil is a real animal from Australia, from the country in Australia called Tasmania. And it's a small badger-looking thing that's incredibly vicious and is known for taking down larger animals and creatures and stuff like that. So that's what they're referring to here by the Tasmanian devil. Mr. Green held on to Tyson as he struggled, and then Tyson turned to Green and screamed out a whole lot of words I don't want to repeat, and started breathing like a bull ready to charge. Do you know what he did? He screamed at Green. What did he do, Tyson? He called me a slime ball. I laughed right away. I couldn't help it. It was the way he said, all that anger in his voice, long and drawn out. Slime ball. Everyone laughed, but I don't know, I guess I must have laughed the loudest because Tyson broke away from Green and stomped up to me. You think that's funny, huh? He yelled, almost ready to pull back his fist and hit me. You touch me, Tyson, and I swear I'll flatten you. I'll hang you by your toenails over a bear trap. That one really sent him for a loop. He looked at me with those weird eyes, trying to figure out how that would feel. For a split second, I felt bad for him. Here he was, this nutty kid in a frenzy, and everyone was laughing at him. He must have felt terrible. I almost felt like saying, it's okay, Tyson, you're not a slime ball. Take it easy, just to make him feel better. But then everyone around him began to laugh even harder, and Tyson stormed off. Green gave me this dirty look that said, bear trap, I'll give you a bear trap, bang, zoom, and then ran off after Tyson. Yep, school was the same as ever. As the homeroom bell rang, I heard a voice behind me, and that's where we stop. We get to the voice behind him. There we go. So we're going to stop there. Wednesday, we are going to read a bit more, but I have to do a bit of a review because I want to remind you guys about some things for the quiz. So we're going to take a little bit of time to do reviewy bits, and then we're going to do a bit more reading. And my goal is to hopefully finish through page 67. If I don't get through page 67, then you will have to do some reading on your own. All right, hang on. We're going to do video check before I take my volunteering things. So hang on. Well, for those of you who want to have class get done early, you're going to have to make sure you have my suggestion things. Let's see. If I don't see you, I'm getting ready to remove children, not counting the 3 kids who have already dropped out. All right, going through, and oh, there's one that just popped back in. You got lucky. All right, let's remove this kid. Clicky, clicky, removing children. Clicky, clicky, removing children. Click. And Wyatt, I don't see you, so let's remove. Clicky, clicky, remove. Oh, right as your video was on, your head wasn't in the screen. All right, the rest of you exist. All right, then for the 5 of you, well, 5 brave ones who can make connections between story and life and stuff like that. You can either raise hand if you want to do talky out loudy thing, if you like the sound of your voice, or you can do typey thing if your sound of your own voice scares you. All right, Antoinette, I don't know where Annette came from. What do you have, Antoinette?
On the first page of the chapter, perfection, and I compared it to Richard Corey.
Ooh, solid connection. I will accept that one. Nicely done. All right, Snyder.
On page 25, it said like mini Olympics. It reminded me of in kindergarten we did this thing with like cars. We like raced.
The Kindy 500.
Yeah.
Yes, my daughters both did the Kindy 500 too. I will accept that. Solid connection. Ethan, I will accept that also. Legos are expensive. I bought Legos for my daughters and saying almost $200. That is a solid connection to make on that one. Legos are like worth their weight in gold. It says that Tyson is a wacko. I compared to Mr. Broviak because he's a whack. Ouch, that hurts. I mean, Not exactly inaccurate, Casopa, but it does hurt my feelings if I had them. But I don't, so you're safe. All right, that brings me to 4. And then, I've worked out. I've had to sprint from the top of the track to the bottom. Max, I will count that one also. All right, so that gives you my 5. So here's the bad news for you guys. My 5 brave people, Casopa, Antoinette, Max, Ethan, and Ellie, we are
And me
going to
too.
do this again coming up on like Wednesday in order to end class early. You 5 can't participate. You're going to have to then have 5 other brave people meet. So you just won't count towards the 5 as we get to rotate other brave people in there. And Blaze, that would also work. And Henry, oh, gotcha. And then, and PJ, see, well, and well, we have an additional 5 who came in afterwards. So go you guys. So you guys, you're on top of things. All right, I'm going to stop my recording. Stopping.